William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Beach at Summerley, a novel by Beatriz Williams, performed by Saskia Maarleveld. To the men and women who quietly gave their lives in a war of unknown battles. 1. April 1954. Wellesley, Massachusetts. Aunt Benedita telephones long distance, just as I'm rushing out the door. She's one of those people who has a knack for it. "I can't talk right now," I tell her. "I'm late for class. You'll want to hear this. Your father told me that Tom Donnelly and his boys started to work on a new job. Gee, that's terrific. You know how I love hearing all the little tidbits from back home. Don't you want to know whose house they're working on? Look, Auntie, I know you don't believe it, but a mile away from where I stand at this telephone, there's a lecture hall filled with undergraduates desperate to hear me speak about the Salem witch trials. Could you put them out of their misery?" Aunt Benedita disregards my pique. That's how we've remained on speaking terms all these years. "They're fixing up Summerley," she says. Lucky for me, an armchair sits next to the table where we keep the telephone. I land on it hard, and notice that the telephone cord has somehow gotten twisted around the table leg. I unwind the cord while Aunt Benedita's voice leaks out of the earpiece, repeating my name. When I put the receiver back to my ear, the darn thing shakes in my hand, all by itself. "Good for them," I tell her. Outside, the air smells green. The temperature is positively balmy. The blossoms are popping out at last in their pinks and whites. Even after all these years on the mainland, I can't look on a blossoming tree without my throat feeling sore. You simply don't get blossoming trees on Winthrop Island. It seems so extravagant. The sky has turned an ultramarine shade of blue, and the blossoms nod and waft against this exemplary field. I hurry across the quadrangle toward Founders Hall and try not to mind all the beauty, but it hits my gut all the same. I wasn't exactly lying to Aunt Benedita about the lecture hall, but you might say I was stretching the truth. I still have time to hurry up the steps, deposit my belongings in the fourth-floor telephone booth known as my office, and drink a cup of muddy coffee before presenting myself in the classroom 2 minutes before the lecture's due to begin. It's the end of April, and the air is green and balmy, as I said, and most of my students have given up trying to arrive early, if at all. Women in Early Colonial America is a brand new course in the History Department curriculum, a course I designed myself, if you must know. But I'm afraid nobody seems to care much about colonial history in these days of hydrogen bombs and Jackson Pollock, even though I try to present the subject with a certain amount of panache. Still, a few young ladies have managed to drag themselves through the dreaming blossoms and into the classroom, and that's all that matters, really. To reach a few fresh minds, to plant some germ of inspiration. That girl in the second row, for example, the light curling brown hair and the sharp chin, the dark, narrow eyes like a young fox. She sets that inquisitive chin into her palm and loses herself in the parable, and I say to myself, in a thought that floats in parallel to my words and my theatrical gestures, "That's it, honey. Just sink yourself into the past, so you don't have to spend so much time in the awful present." Later, when I retire to my telephone booth office in the fourth-floor attic, there is the newspaper to distract me. Sure, maybe it describes the awful present, but at least it isn't my awful present. I light a cigarette, pour myself another cup of muddy coffee, and add a splash of cognac from the flask in my desk drawer. If you're going to drink in your office, I always say, make sure it's worth the trouble. The news is even more rotten than usual. Same old mess in Indochina. The Red Sox lose another one. That chump McCarthy's starting in on the army now. But I read on regardless. If nothing else, I know the trick of mental discipline.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?